Hello, everybody. It's great to have a packed house on the last day of NAB. Welcome to the Autodesk stand. So my next guest presentation, we're going to take a look at how Autodesk Flame and Shotgun are used in a commercial pipeline. And to guide us through this journey, we have Mr. Chris Bankoff, lead compositor from Method Studios in LA. Welcome aboard, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here, mate. Now, I know you're kind of a strange breed of creative and technical. You're a great flame artist, but you're also a very technical person as well, aren't you? So tell us a bit about yourself. How did you get to that stage in life?
Yes. So I've been in the industry for over a decade now, and I'm coming up on my 7th year at Method Studios. And I love the combination of art and technology, and I play with both all the time, trying to push new boundaries.
Yeah, and the guys at Method, they utilize you very much in both those directions, don't they, as the lead compositor. So tell us a little bit about Method Studios. I know you've got glamorous locations all over the world.
Yeah, so I've been at Method Studios for quite a while now. In 2008, we were a much smaller boutique operation with 35 employees and 5 flames.
5 flames. That's a good start, mate.
Yeah, good start. We've grown a bunch now. Today we have 8 offices worldwide and 750 artists globally, with 15 flames just in our LA office.
Wow, 15 flames. And you've also got a whole bunch of flares and flame assists as well to go with that, haven't you?
Yeah, both the flares and flame assists are integrated as well into our pipeline.
And 5 of your flames are flame premiums?
Yes, 5 are flame premiums.
Okay, so with the flame premium, you've got the flare, the flame assist, and the luster.
Yes,
all in the package.
All in the package with the licensing.
So yeah, what kind of work do you take on at Method? I think you kind of do everything, don't you?
Yes, we take on a little bit of everything. We range from commercial finishing, which is fast one-day work, or several-day work, to commercial VFX, which is larger sort of project-based commercials, all the way through big feature film projects as well. And for myself, I've done work in all of these. But my primary focus has really been in commercials because of the fast-paced and quick turnaround.
And the studios all over the world, you collaborate on bigger projects as well, don't you? You can push work from one office to another.
Yes, we're not wedded to having the work done in one particular site. That work can be shared amongst all the different studios.
Mm. Now, I know you've got quite an unusual reel you're going to show us, right?
Yes, our reel's a little bit different, and we put this out recently. I really like it. Hope people will too.
My mom creates fear. My dad creates confusion.
My dad loves to play with fire.
My dad makes animals.
My dad plays with Autobots.
And sometimes explosions. My dad makes people into robots. Robot beep beep. My dad blows up the Capitol building. My dad teaches superheroes how to fight.
My dad trains real fighters.
My dad likes to play with vampires. My dad makes tornadoes. He breathes fire in his face when red and orange. There's a lot of flames. I think it's dangerous. She makes it so it looks really easy. I remember the babies that flew to another world. Lots of rockets from Babyland to space to other mommies. So big.
Wow, I can see a few tears in the audience there. That's got to be the cutest reel I've ever seen. And the kids actually are the kids of the staff at Method, right?
Yes, those are the actual kids of the staff at Method.
Such a cool reel, man. So tell us a little bit about your relationship with Autodesk. You've got a lot of our kit, haven't you?
Yeah, so all of our work really couldn't be possible without our partnership with Autodesk. We use Maya, Flame, Shotgun. They're all essential tools in our toolkit. Right. But today, I'm really going to be focusing on Flame Premium 2015 and its role at Method.
So what are you going to show us?
So we recently embarked in the task of transitioning from the pre-anniversary Flame
Okay.
to Flame 2015.
Okay, so going from the old UI to the new UI. This
Yes.
was okay. And how did you go about that?
So the transition was a big change for us, and so we wanted to make sure it went as smoothly as possible. To start with, let's talk a little about scope of what we had to transition.
Okay.
First, we need to migrate 15 Flame systems with 6 flares and additional 25 burn nodes. In many ways, this hardware represented the easiest part of the transition.
So what was the more complicated part of the transition?
The hardest part was just preparing the team for the new software.
Okay. So you got a big team there as well, haven't you, to run all that gear?
Yes, we have about 14 staff Flame artists, an additional 4 Flare artists, and a 10 or so freelancers or permalancers who are in and out of the office working with us on a regular basis. And we wanted to make sure that they felt ready and confident for this transition.
Okay. So what did you do to ready them?
Well, to ready them, training was really important. And to start with, we really encouraged the artists to watch and listen for videos on the Autodesk Learning channel.
Okay, so the Autodesk Learning channel is like over 100 bite-sized videos, really concise and continually being added to by our colleague Grant Kay in London. And also there'll be some out for the 2016 release, some new features there. And in addition to that, there's also a personal learning edition so that your artists can take Flame Assist or Flare home on their laptop and stay up all night learning the new features. And this is particularly important if you're a freelancer, actually. So if you're out there and you don't know where you're going, you can keep up with the latest features on your laptop. So they did that. They got the video tutorials, but videos can take you so far.
Right. I mean, the videos did a great job of giving the artists an understanding and sort of a lay of the land of the new software. But next, we really wanted to make sure we had the hands-on training, and that's where the personal learning editions, are useful.
Yeah.
But for us, what we did is we made 2 systems available with Flame 2015 installed within the facility.
Okay, so you kind of quarantined them at this stage.
Yes, they were separate. They were on their own little island, and we really encouraged the artists to get on those boxes, get some hands-on experience in downtime between jobs or in the evenings after work.
Do people have downtime? A method?
Not a whole lot. Lastly, we also wanted to set up one-on-one and group training in the studio with Will Harris from Autodesk.
Okay. So Will Harris is an Autodesk application specialist, right? So he's in the audience there. And so Autodesk don't just like sell a product and run away. We supply a Will Harris as well, and we have Will Harrises all over the world, don't we? We've cloned him, and we try and help our clients through the transitions. We offer support, not just in the transition, but ongoing application support as well. So that's one thing. So Will came in.
So yeah, Will's involvement in training made a really big difference in easing the concerns of the artists.
Okay.
They were, to be honest, they were really nervous leading up to the transition because it was a big change.
Yeah, it is a big change, isn't it?
And Will was really good at answering questions, going over workflow changes, and
calming nerves,
and making them feel more confident in the transition.
Right.
And we're really grateful for Will's time and energy.
So the user side of it is one thing, isn't it? But then you've also got the engineering side of things.
Absolutely. So let's go over some of the nuts and bolts of the issues related to that rollout. The training systems also doubled for our engineers as well as test platforms, so they could update tools and scripts. We did changes to KDE development scripts, configuration file, all these things. Okay. But we wanted to make the transition as smooth as possible.
I see you're wearing a Method t-shirt, flying the flag there,
yes.
Chris. I just noticed that. So also you've got Will to help you with the application side and the usability and the operators, but also the Autodesk technical staff supported your technical staff. They were liaising with them and helping your guys get to this point technically as well.
Yes, they were a great resource in working through any issues that came up and giving us great advice. Next, let's talk about the actual deployment. So over one weekend, we upgraded all the systems in the LA office to 2015. We made the decision to move in one big step because collaboration is a really important part of our workflow at Method.
Makes sense to bring everything up.
And we wanted everyone on the same version at the same time.
Okay, so then crunch time.
Yeah, so first day of production, we got it all rolled out. We had the engineering team, Will Harris, myself, were all on site ready to answer any questions and troubleshoot any issues that might have come up that first day. And despite all the training that we did, the artists didn't really have all that muscle memory yet. in the new application.
So this is where you've kind of come out of the flight simulator and you're taking your first flight, right?
Right.
So it is a big transition. I mean, there's a lot of changes in UI, but I think it took your artists about a week or so before they started to take advantage of the new integrated editorial and procedural compositing and media management and the faster production pipeline as well. So it took a bit of time. It challenged muscle memory.
Yeah, they had to think about a little bit of what they were doing, but it quickly came back, and the speed and the improvements really started to bear fruit a week or two later.
And none of your artists want to go back, do they?
There are some really great features in the new software that they're really
we're going
really
to talk
enjoying.
about those.
Deployment issues. Even with all the planning, we did run into a few small snafus.
Right.
One of the first one I want to talk about is a simple one, but was completely overlooked.
Ah, the little things. Okay. So what went wrong?
Many of the artists had long since lost the right-click button on their Wacom pen.
That's also how I used to work as well.
Yeah, I'm guilty of removing it too. But the right click just wasn't part of the legacy workflow, but it really is now in the 2015 software.
Okay, so there's a bit of discovering that button on the pen, and also discovering the meta key as well.
On the keyboard.
That button that we'd never really pressed before. Okay, so your artists, again, they have a choice. They can use the pen or the meta key.
Absolutely, and having those context menus right there and available to the artist in the application on the content that they want to manipulate.
As you said, challenges muscle memory. We're used to going to a certain place, but now we can bring up the menu that's pertinent to the task in hand, and it actually saves time when you get used to it.
Absolutely. So we got inundated with a lot of requests for the artists to get new pens so they could start using those new features. Next, we needed to fine-tune some of our back burner configurations. With 2015, most of the operations, import, export, wire, render, all of these are pushed to the background and handled in the background so that the artist is free to keep working while those tasks are being managed for him.
That's right.
But this does generate a lot more jobs for the Backburn Manager to handle, to manage. And due to the number of systems we have at Method and the number of jobs that we were managing, we started to see some stability issues when we went to that full-scale rollout with all of our systems.
But again, the Autodesk technical team, they were supporting your technical team through this transition.
Absolutely. We were on the phone with them, talking them through it, what we were seeing, and they were giving us some great suggestions.
So you're loading a bit more on Backburner, which is your background renderer, also handling the I/O tasks.
Correct. So what we did is we migrated the Backburn Manager off of a virtual machine onto a standalone server with a little bit extra RAM. We also configured the manager to purge all jobs over in 48 hours. This really helped dramatically increase the reliability of the Backburn Manager. We also found in 2015 that it was much more aggressive in its use of hardware and system resources.
Well, I think as client demands increase and complexity increases, and also you were going to 4K, you need more hardware, you need faster hardware, and we have our partnerships with HP, NVIDIA, Arja, and Dot Hill. We like to take advantage and be able to offer our clients the latest and greatest hardware, so that there's always expansion. And
yeah, so we saw higher RAM utilization. This was due to increased project resolution, and also artists tended to use a single monolithic project library. We addressed these issues by increasing the RAM to the now recommended 64 gigs, and we're even looking to go to 128 gigs for the UHD ready systems.
Okay, so our current 2016 hardware, we're running on the Z840. We've got 20 cores. You can optimize it with 2K 6000 graphics cards. And if you do that, we now recommend 128 gig to run that.
So we also got the artists in habit, this is part of the workflow change, breaking up their media into more libraries so they could close the inactive ones. All these things we saw a reduction in the amount of RAM used on the system.
Yeah, and inactive libraries will close over time by themselves as well.
So lastly, what we've started to do also is upgrade the system drives to SSD.
Yeah, so you guys were doing this. Well, you'll be pleased to know on the current hardware configuration, we actually ship it with not one SSD, but two. And this is a mirrored system drive, so should one fail, you're not going to lose anything. And also, you've got the speed of the SSD as well. So.
Yeah, the speed of the SSD adds great improvement. So in 2015, it introduced new flexibilities in structure and organization. These flexibilities with a large, diverse team often creates divergent opinions on organization and conventions.
Well, I think every artist likes to work in a different way, don't they? But you as the supervisor, you've got to kind of pull them in to work in the same way.
Yes, as a studio, we need to sort of all agree on trying to work in a cohesive, single way.
And I think this is one of the things about Flame. It allows you to work in many, many different ways. But when you're in your facility, you kind of got to sit down with the team and say, look, let's do it this way, right?
Let's do it this way, absolutely. And the new tools and features we really started taking advantage of. And we really began to coalesce around like that revised workflow. One example of this was shot reels. It used to be we used reels with shot markers. It was sort of the old way of organizing things to share and hand off material.
Okay, and we got a lot of workflow improvements in the 2016 version. So what that explosion in the background was. But your snapshots now, iterations, we're basically saving the metadata and the media in the iteration. And you can recall them directly in the batch environment now as well in 2016.
So the batch snapshots are a massive improvement. It's very easy to hand off work. And we also use desktops as well for more complex shots.
Okay.
I mean, all of these organizational improvements really means that artists spend more time in batch working on shots rather than trying to organize media on their desktop or in their libraries.
And how do your artists work together?
So in 2015, we introduced, you introduced workspaces. Method, we've really embraced the use of workspaces, and by convention, we started labeling the workspaces with our user names.
Okay, so a workspace allows multiple artists to work on the same project and collaborate, isn't it?
Correct.
And they can work on different systems?
They work on different systems, and workspaces create their own little cubby where they can keep track of their own media. And by labeling them with the artist name, it's really clear who has ownership of the media on any given system. And it's also useful when we go to dig in archives later, because commercials never come back for revisions.
But in the unlikely event that a commercial should come back for a revision, you can bring it back on the archive, and it will also it bring back all the workspaces as well, so you can see which machine, which artist, which workspace.
Correct. When you archive the project, it takes all the workspaces with it as well. So the next thing I want to talk about is floating point. It's nothing new to Flame, but in 2015, it really became the default bit depth for most operations.
Okay, so if anybody's not too technical here and you're feeling a bit out of your bit depth, just the difference there, you were working 10-bit, you had like 1024 levels, pretty good. But with 16-bit float, you got over 65,000 levels to work with, so much greater high dynamic range.
Yes, it's like taking things to 11.
It's just a bit better.
So because of that floating point space, we developed a full range color workflow that takes exclusive advantage of it.
Right.
The full range workflow is standard on most of our VFX commercials because it maintains the full dynamic range of the source plates. This preserved dynamic range gives us more flexibility later in post. This is in contrast to the old standard video workflow where traditionally only a rendered beauty plate and possibly a flat pass was delivered from the DI session.
Yeah, and you're losing all that data from the onset there, aren't you? You're clipping the highs, and so keeping it in the 16-bit float. How do you do this? What's your pipeline?
So let me walk you through it real quick. What we'll do is we start with the raw plate from the camera. The clients will then have a color session with our sister company, Company 3.
Oh, so this is all part of the Deluxe family, right? A growing
Yes.
family.
It's a growing family.
Ever growing around the world. So, okay, so Company 3 provide you with the...
Yeah, so in that session, you'll develop the look. That look is then sort of baked down into a LUT, and underneath that LUT, individual shot adjustments are made to balance things out as needed or requested by the clients. Then what's delivered to Method is graded plates. Those are the graded plates with the original plate plus all of the adjustments that were made minus the LUT. We then use that LUT that is also delivered to Method. Okay. We work under that, and we can see that same finished product that they saw.
So you're all looking at the same thing?
Looking at the same thing, and we're maintaining the full dynamic range of the original plate
so you're all looking at the same thing. You've got that 16-bit goodness under the hood.
16-bit goodness under the hood, and because we preserved all of that dynamic range all the way through the pipeline, at the end of the job, before final delivery, our clients have the option of doing a final spotting color session with Company 3 again, where they can make any additional color adjustments that they would like to do. And that flexibility is only because we preserved the dynamic range of the image all the way through.
All the way through, yeah. And then from that master, you can deliver to, say, digital cinema, video, or the web, all from the one master.
Yeah, we have a lot of flexibility in post at that point.
So I see that you're using 3D LUTs to do this, but you're also assessing Flame's ACES workflow and thinking of moving to color transforms.
Yeah, we're very excited for ACES. We're looking to see how best to integrate that into our commercial pipeline.
Okay.
So one of the spots that we use this workflow on is imagination at work. It was really useful with that dynamic range on some of these bright sunshine shots, and there was a lot of metal highlights and things like that as well.
Also on Flame 2016, we now support extended dynamic range monitoring as well, which will be really useful for you guys. Unfortunately, we can't see the full bit depth range here, but let's take a look at the clip anyway.
Absolutely.
My dad, he makes underwater fans that are powered by the moon. My dad makes airplane engines that can talk. My dad makes hospitals you can hold in your hand. My dad can print amazing things right from his computer. My dad makes trains that are friends with trees. My dad works at GE.
Yeah, a really beautiful piece. General Electric. So, new features.
New features. So 2015 brought a lot of things that we're really excited about. One of them, in our primary drive for upgrading, was its support of UHD workflows.
Okay, so we're talking ultra high definition 4K.
Yes.
And at Autodesk, we're actually talking uncompressed 444 RGB 4K as well. So you can from last year, you can play real time, you can do certain effects real time as well, and even dual stream.
Absolutely. And to do this, of course, we updated the software. We also added, updated our graphics cards, added a little bit of system RAM. In addition, we added a faster dot hill storage from Autodesk, and this allowed for that real-time uncompressed playback at UHD. Method was proud to finish our first UHD campaign last summer. We delivered 3 spots for Visio and UHD.
All right.
And this is my favorite one, Turkey Dinner.
So this is a UHD commercial about a UHD monitor hosted in UHD. It's very UHD.
With 4 times the resolution, nothing is more captivating. Ultra HD from Visio.
Yeah, another great piece. And 4K is very much with us now, isn't it? It's not the future, it's today.
It's today, and I think it's going to be around for a while. So the next new feature that we were excited about was Planar Tracker. This showed up in Extension 2 release of 2015. And this has been really well received by all the artists at Method.
Yeah, I think it's important to know, obviously we've devoted a lot of time on the architectural changes, taking advantage of GPU acceleration, a full 16-bit workflow both in the timeline and in compositing. But we certainly haven't forgotten about creative tools such as the Planar Tracker, incredibly popular with people. Also a couple of other features that we've put in, the ability to track in 3D space the vertices of an extended bicubic and separate the UV and the 3D vertices as well. And a whole bunch of other features that the artists have really enjoyed.
Yes, and they're finding them incredibly useful in production. And with the Planar Tracker, we use it primarily a lot in like car reflection cleanup, beauty work. It's really good at tracking skin and facial features.
You have a slightly unusual use of it here, don't you?
Yeah, it really Planar Tracker really proved critical in this Battlefield 360-degree surround trailer that we recently finished. When you watch this video online, you can actually view around inside the player and explore full 360 of action. And I have a clip from this sequence I'd like to show you. I like showing it actually in the complete 360 panorama, so you can see all the work that was done.
Okay.
And the note is the camera is the money bag from this sort of heist sequence.
So this is the point of view of the money bag.
Of the money
You're
bag.
the money bag.
Yes.
Let's have a look at the clip. So was that a video of your typical journey to work to the LA office, was it?
Yeah, traffic can be a little intense in LA.
Now, to me, that looks like very tricky tracking indeed, to track anything in that.
Yeah, so we found the footage really hard to track, and because of the continuous curved images and it's really shaky, the Planar Tracker was really the only thing that could grab hold of some of the features.
Okay, so this was shot with a camera vertical, looking at a parabolic reflector.
Yes, it was shot vertical into a parabolic lens and then unwrapped in post.
It's definitely challenging tracking, isn't it? But the Planar Tracker in action, it did it for you?
Yeah, so right there in action as you're working, you could switch over to Planar Tracker, grab hold of a surface, and be able to track on those bullet holes, those squib hits, all of those sort of things to add intensity to the sequence.
And the other useful thing about that is you're not having to send the shot out to a third-party tracker and bring data back in. The tracking data is right in the heart of the 3D compositor there, where you want it.
It's right there, right inside of action in your normal workspace.
So you've got a lot going on at Method. How do you manage all this stuff?
So looking towards the future, we are very excited about the future of Flame and some of the features that we've got coming out. And it will continue to be the center of our project-based workflow. One of the things we're excited about is Python callbacks. This will allow us to directly connect Flame into our larger pipeline tools, asset tracking, and other studio customizations. Additionally, the integration of Shotgun directly into Flame will allow for more effective collaboration inside the studio and globally. I mean, we have 8 offices worldwide, and now that we have one Shotgun server that is servicing most of our sites, it means that everyone's interfacing the same data on the same server.
Across multiple sites as well. So this is Autodesk's production management and tracking and review in Shotgun.
Yes, and Shotgun has been very much part of our workflow in commercials and in feature films for several years now. And to actually have it start to show up inside the application itself and not just be on a separate web page is really powerful because it keeps the artists doing what they're doing in the application that they're comfortable using.
So prior to Shotgun, in the commercial environment, the organizational pipeline was all in the artist's brain, wasn't it? In the Flame guy's brain.
Yes.
That was your production management.
And so now that can be easily offloaded into a database where it probably should be, and it can be allows for seamless collaboration between the artists and allows producers and coordinators to really get involved in the process and lend that extra helping hand.
Hey Chris, we're just about out of time. I really want to thank you for coming along.